Hello everyone, Jesse from PropertyNow here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be taking you through another video tutorial, and today the topic for that video is going to be how to add a new property and listing to your account on PropertyNow. So let's get into it. So we've just signed into our account on PropertyNow and we find ourselves on the dashboard, which is the primary central page for your account. The first thing that we're going to want to do is click the new property button at the top left-hand corner of the screen. So we're just going to go ahead and give that a left click. So now we have begun the listing creation process, and the first thing that we have to do is provide the address for the property. So go ahead and click into the address field and begin typing your address, whatever that may be. You'll notice that when I begin typing in an address, a large drop-down menu appears with all of the different property addresses that the system thinks that you're typing. Now we can go ahead and type the address into this field, or we can click "Can't find your address," click here to enter it manually. This way we make sure that we're getting the address exactly correct. And now we can type in the desired address, Main Street, the most cliche address we could possibly have. And we're going to say that this is in Brisbane, the postcode 4000 in the state of Queensland. Now, if Google Maps can find your address at all, it's going to show it on the map just below here, as you can see. So this is this red dot here, which is saying this is where the address that you've entered, this is where that property is located. We also have this little box here which says hide my street address and just display the suburb. So if you wanted to have the full address of your property hidden and for it to only display Brisbane, you could simply give that a click, and that's how it will display on Real Estate Common Domain once the listing is activated. So we're going to turn that off for now and then go ahead and click the continue button. Now is the time to confirm what type of property and listing we're creating here. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to say that it's a standard residential sale listing. So we'll go ahead and click residential and then for sale. Obviously, if you were wanting to put a property up for lease instead of sale, you would just click the rental property instead. And if the property was a commercial or a rural or a land, for instance, you would click the corresponding tab found at the top of the screen. So we've gone ahead and clicked residential and sale. So let's move on with the continue button. On this next page, you'll find a bit of information. You'll see a little walkthrough and information video, as you can see here, as well as some details on how to get in contact with us if you need further assistance. For now, we don't need any of that, so we're going to go ahead and click continue again. Okay, so now we're really getting into it. Here, we're going to add a bunch of different details for our property. Firstly, the category of the property. So go ahead and click the select a category button, and we just have to pick the one that corresponds correctly to our listing. So for this, it's just going to be a house. You'll also notice right next to the property category heading, there's a little red asterisk. This means that before your listing can ultimately be activated, this field must be filled in. We can see the field next to property category, the land area field, actually doesn't have a red asterisk. This means that this field doesn't have to be filled in, it can be left blank and it is entirely optional, and your listing can be activated without providing that information. So moving on to the land area, we'll go ahead and leave this blank. And in the house area, we'll put something generic like 240 square meters. Next, we'll just need to fill out some information on the types of rooms available in the property. So go ahead and click the plus and minus icons below in order to correctly show the details of your property. So for example, this property will have 3 bedrooms, 1 living room, 2 bathrooms including ensuites, 1 ensuite, and 1 toilet. Now, just bear in mind that the bathroom fields here does include ensuites. So we've put 2 into this field to include the 1 ensuite plus the 1 standard bathroom. And then in the ensuite section, there is 1 standalone ensuite. Now that you've filled out those details, let's move on to the parking section. For this example, we'll say that the property has a garage space of 1 sheltered carport, and 2 open car spaces. Now, the energy rating isn't a required field, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to go ahead and set it to 3. Now, as you can see, a lot of these fields are not actually required to be filled in. You can go ahead and list your property without filling them in if they don't have that red asterisk that we talked about before. However, generally it's best to provide as much detail as you can so people are really sure of what they're inquiring on and what they're seeing. It will also stop you having to answer a plethora of questions about the property from every inquirer, since the details will be provided on the listing itself. Moving on, we're once again asked if we want to hide the property address, which we've already determined that we don't want to. And then we have to clarify if this is a project to build a new home or whether it is an established property. Now in this case, it's established, so go ahead and click continue. Now we're going to find ourselves on the property features page, which is a pretty extensive page. As you can see here, there's an area for inside features, heating and cooling features, eco-friendly features, and outdoor features. And so for the video here, I'm just going to quickly go through a couple of these and add some generic ones to our property. So we're going to select built-in robes, a dishwasher, and a study, as well as split system air conditioning from their heating and cooling features. Scrolling down, we won't select any of the eco-friendly features, and we'll select alarm, deck, and shed for the outdoor features. Now, as you can see, there are quite a lot of features available on this page. But you might be wondering what to do if your property has a feature that isn't included here. Well, realestate.com and Domain allow people to search for properties via keywords. So as long as we mention that feature in the property description, which we'll get to later, people will be able to search for a specific keyword and our listing will come up. So once again, if your property has a feature that is not specifically on this page, just make sure to make mention of it in the listing description. So moving on, go ahead and click continue. Now we find ourselves on the all-important price page. Now, there are actually two different sections to add a price on this page. Firstly, we have the price field at the top of the page here and the display price just underneath it here. Now, it's important to note that this top price field actually doesn't display publicly. This price is used by realestate.com and Domain to index your listing, so those websites know whether to show your listing when someone is making a filtered search. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and add the price of $500,000 to the field here. And what this would mean is that if someone were to search for a property between, let's say, $450,000 and $550,000, our property would show up because the price we've provided is within that range. Once again though, this price does not display publicly on your listing. Next, we have the display price, which is just found below, and this, as the name states, is the price that will be found on your listing publicly. Now, the default setting is same as above price. This just means that the price that we entered here will be the price that is publicly shown on the listing. However, there are a few other options. Firstly, we can hide the price. This will just show the words contact agent instead of any actual price being shown. And we can also do price ranges. So here we can enter a price between, let's say, $480,000 and $500,000. So in this case, both of these numbers will be shown on the listing. It's also important to note that the bottom end of this price cannot be lower than the minimum price you would realistically accept. So we can't set the bottom end of this price to say $300,000 in order to have a lot more inquiries. So for instance, if I went to change this range to $400,000, it will give me an error message letting me know that I'm not actually allowed to do this, because the difference between the bottom and top end of the range would actually be about 25%. Now moving on to the final field, we also have the custom price. Here we can add some custom text such as offers above $500,000. Now, it is worth noting that different states in Australia have different rules as to what exactly you're allowed to put in this field. Now, I'm not going to bore you by taking you through all of the different rules in this video, but in the listing description below, I will leave a link to where you can find this information on our website. So for now, let's go ahead and set this back to same as above price and move on. The last section of this page just relates to how the property is going to be sold and whether that's going to be a standard sale or an auction. Now, generally, this is going to be a standard sale, but if we wanted to set it to an auction, we would just give that a left click. Here, we would then just need to add our auction date as well as time. PropertyNow also offers an auction add-on which can be purchased at any time, and this allows your auction to be hosted and run online. So let's go ahead and set this back to a standard sale and click continue. Now we're onto the photos and media tab and we want to get our beautiful images of our property uploaded to our listing. Now we do have a more in-depth video available on our channel, which covers images in more detail, but for now, all you would need to do is click the upload photos button and then select a few images and click open. If we then scroll down on this page, we'll see a video section with two separate link fields. We have the external link field and the video URL field. So essentially, if we have a virtual tour, which is a 3D image of a property which allows someone to click through it and view the property, we would add the link to that just here. If we had recorded footage of our property that we've uploaded to YouTube or Dailymotion, we would place that link in the video URL section. Scrolling down a bit further, we also have the floor plan section, which we upload just in the same way you did with your property images. Go ahead and click upload floor plans, select your floor plan, wait for that to fully upload and load, and then click continue when you're all done. Now we find ourselves on the ownership verification step. And it may surprise you to learn that I don't actually own 12 Main Street in Brisbane. Shocking, I know. Now we normally accept ownership verification in the form of a rates notice, and the name on the rates notice as well as the property address must be fully visible. Now if you have that file locally on your computer, all you would need to do is click the upload file button, locate the file, and then double click it. If you're having any trouble uploading it to your account, you can also email it to us at support@propertynow.com.au and we can verify it for you that way. Also, as with all of these other steps, we can come back to them at a later time if we don't have the resources available to us right now that we need. So go ahead and click continue when you're ready to move on. Now we're on to the property heading and description field. Now on this page, you'll see two different text fields, the top one being your listing heading and the second being your listing description or copywriting. Now, a general piece of advice for your listing heading is to make mention of your property's biggest selling point. Whatever you believe to be the most interesting or unique part of your property, or whatever component you think is going to most interest buyers, you generally want to make mention of that in your listing heading. Now don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me write out a whole listing heading and description, but with the power of editing, we can circumvent that tedious process. Now, if you're a bit worried about your own spelling or grammar, there's no need to be. Before your listing is activated, we'll read through the body of text and make any small adjustments that are necessary. We also have a professional copywriting service if you really want it done by a pro, which can be purchased at any time from within your account. Now that we're done on this page, let's go ahead and click continue once again, and we'll find ourselves on the contact tab. Now here we have 3 different sections. Firstly, the name that will be displayed to inquirers, the email address that inquirers will be provided with. This is also the same email address that all of your inquiries will be forwarded to. And lastly, the phone number that is provided to inquirers. Now, if you, for instance, didn't want to supply an email address or possibly a phone number, you'll just want to send us an email at support@propertynow.com.au and let us know, and we can make that adjustment for you. Once you're all finished there, go ahead and click continue. Getting very close to the end now, and we find ourselves on the Open Home and Private Inspections tab, as well as private inspection availability times. So to add an open home time, simply click the Add an Open House Time button. From here, we'll just have to put in the open home date, as well as when it begins and finishes. So go ahead and give this box a click, and let's select the 30th of January 2023. We can then click into the next box and enter 11 AM and enter 12 PM for the closing time. Now to add a private inspection time, just click the Add a Private Inspection Time button here. Now, whereas open homes are open to all attendees, private inspection times are specifically for people who want to book in a more intimate tour of the house. So let's go ahead and add a time. Let's say that we have some availability on the 28th of January, and people are free to book in all the way from 2 PM until 5 PM. Now, if we want to remove our open home time or our private inspection time, simply click the trash can icon next to the time you want to remove. And as always, once your listing is activated, you can make changes and add more times whenever you wish to. So when you're done on this page, go ahead and click continue once again. Now we'll find ourselves on the listing enhancements page, and this can be pretty overwhelming at first. Now, instead of going through every single one of these add-ons and all of the details surrounding them, I'm just going to pop a link in the video description to the add-ons page on our website. From there, you can read all about these add-ons in greater detail. So for the time being, let's just scroll to the bottom of the page and click continue. And here we're on the final step of the process. Over here, we can click this button in order to update the phone number that will be supplied on our for sale sign. And we can also update the shipping address for the sign just here. Once the phone number and shipping address have been supplied, we can then click confirm to lock in that information. We can then choose to opt for express postage or just keep it as standard shipping. We can also select if we want our listing to be immediately activated or if we would like to activate it manually ourselves inside of our account. So if you select immediate activation and you have supplied all of the necessary information in order to list your listing, we will activate the listing for you within about 40 minutes during business hours, which happen to be 9 AM to 6:30 PM Queensland time. If you select to activate later, you'll find an activation button inside of your account once all the necessary information has been provided. You'll then just need to click the payment method that you want to go through with, and then the Pay Now button over here. After that, it's simply a matter of following the prompts. One last thing that I'd like to mention as well is that you can also navigate through the different steps via the tabs at the top of the page. So for instance, if I wanted to make changes to my price, I could go ahead and click the price tab just over here. This also means that if we can't fill something out for some reason, let's say we don't have a price yet, instead of clicking the continue button and getting this error message that the field is required and has not been filled in yet, we can actually just proceed to the next step via the tabs at the top of the page. For instance, I can click photos and media here in order to move to the next step. And that's the long and short of how to create your listing on PropertyNow, guys. As always, if you are running into any issues, if you have any questions at all, please do get in contact with us. I'm going to pop our contact details right at the end of this video, and let us know what difficulties you're having, and we'll do our very best to assist you. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I hope you have a great experience with PropertyNow. Until next time, bye-bye.